So, have you ever asked an AI a question and gotten something totally useless back? Yeah, it can feel like you're trying to cook this amazing gourmet meal, but the oven just has a mind of its own. Well, today we're diving into something called prompt engineering. Think of it as the art of writing the perfect recipe for your AI, so you get exactly the results you want every single time. Let's get into it.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You ask what seems like a simple question, and the AI just spits out something rambling, or wrong, or just plain weird. And that is exactly the problem that prompt engineering is designed to solve. See, it's usually not that the AI is dumb, it's that we haven't given it clear enough instructions to work with.
And look, this slide shows you the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got this super vague prompt, tell me about polar bears, and you get back a generic, kind of boring paragraph. But on the right, a really well-engineered prompt that asks for specific facts in a particular format, and bam, you get a clean, useful, and accurate list. It just goes to show, the quality of what you put in directly controls the quality of what you get out.
All right, so here's what's on the menu for today. We're going to start with the art of the prompt. Then we'll break down the 4 key ingredients you need. After that, we'll get into some advanced prompting techniques, grab some tips from the pros, and finally, we'll talk about the benefits and blind spots, when to use this recipe and when maybe not to.
Okay, first up, the art of the prompt. Let's actually define what we're talking about here. So, at its core, prompt engineering is really just the practice of designing and refining your instructions, your prompts, to get the best possible response from an AI. Seriously, that's it. You can think of it like learning how to communicate really clearly with someone who, speaks a slightly different language. The clearer you are, the better they're going to understand you.
So how do we get that clarity? Well, it turns out most great prompts have 4 key ingredients. Let's break down the recipe.
Okay, every great prompt recipe has these 4 main parts. First, you need an instruction. This is a strong action verb, something like summarize this or translate that. Next up is the context, which is basically the background info the AI needs to do its job right. Then you've got the input. That's the actual text or data you want it to work with. And finally, and this one's super important, the output format. This is where you tell it exactly how you want the answer served up. Should it be a table, a bulleted list? You decide.
And here's how it all comes together in a real prompt. Summarize, that's our instruction, right? The part about climate change, that gives the AI the necessary context. The article text itself, that's our input. And then asking for the top 3 important points in Markdown format, which is just a simple way to format text with things like headers or lists, that is our specific output format. See how they all work together? Okay, we've got the basics down. Now, let's level up our skills. We're going to go from home cook to master chef with some advanced prompting techniques. So 2 really fundamental techniques you need to know are zero-shot and few-shot prompting. With zero-shot, you just give the AI a task without any examples. This is totally fine for simple, common stuff. But for more nuanced tasks, you use few-shot, where you provide a few examples of what you're looking for. Like here, for sentiment analysis. Showing the model what positive and negative reviews look like helps it classify new text way more accurately. It's kind of like giving the chef a little taste of the sauce before they cook the whole dish. But what if your task is really, really complex? That's where something called prompt chaining comes in. The idea is, instead of asking the AI to do everything all at once, you break the task down into smaller, more manageable steps. The output from one prompt becomes the input for the next one, and so on. And this is a perfect example. Instead of just asking for a summary of a huge document right away, the first prompt asks the AI to only extract the relevant quotes. Then, as a second step, you could feed only those quotes back into the AI and ask it to summarize them. By breaking it down like that, you guide the model and get a much more focused, much more accurate result. Okay, so that works great for processing text, but what if the AI needs to actually reason its way to an answer? For things like logic or math problems. This slide is just fantastic because it shows a common way AIs can fail. If you ask it the banana problem directly, it might just take a wild guess and get it wrong. But look what happens when you add one simple phrase. Let's think step by step. It's like a switch flips. The model suddenly shows its work. It calculates each part of the problem logically, and it lands on the correct answer. It's incredible. So this incredibly powerful technique is called chain of thought prompting. And it's not just for math. It's for any task that requires reasoning. You're basically asking the AI to slow down, show its work, just like in school, and avoid making a careless jump to a conclusion.
All right, time for some rapid-fire tips. Think of these as the chef's secrets that are going to take your prompts from just good to great.
First up, formatting is your best friend. Seriously, use delimiters, things like hashtags or those triple backticks to create clear separations between your instructions and the text you want the AI to analyze. And don't be afraid to ask for structured output, like JSON if you're working with data or Markdown for clean text. It just makes the AI's response so much easier to use.
Next, you need to guide the model. Set up some guardrails. You can explicitly tell it not to invent information if it doesn't know the answer. This is how you help prevent what people call hallucinations, where the AI just makes stuff up. You can also tell it to avoid making assumptions, and like we just saw, always encourage it to think step by step for more reliable answers.
And this is maybe the most important tip of all. Iterate. You have to experiment. Prompt engineering isn't a one-and-done thing. A prompt that works perfectly on one AI model might totally fail on another. So you have to test, refine, and adapt your prompts. It's a process.
So, with all that in mind, when should you actually use this recipe? Let's take a look at the benefits and, just as importantly, the blind spots of prompt engineering.
Okay, so the benefits are pretty clear, right? It's simple, it's efficient, and it lets you get super tailored, predictable results without needing to be a software engineer. But the limitations are really important to understand. The output you get is completely dependent on the specific AI model you're using. And here's the big one. It's limited by that model's pre-trained internal knowledge. It only knows what it was taught.
And this, right here, is really the main takeaway. Good prompt engineering empowers you. It completely changes your role. You're no longer just a passive customer of an AI service. You become the active chef, carefully crafting the recipe to create exactly the results you need.
So remember, prompt engineering gives you incredible control over how the AI thinks, but it's always working with a fixed library of internal knowledge. Its biggest blind spot is that it can't just go look up new information on the internet. For that, you'd need a totally different technique, something like Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, which actually lets the AI pull in live external data to answer questions.
So there you have it. We've gone over the core ingredients, the advanced techniques, and the chef's secrets. You now have the recipe to unlock the true potential of these AI models. So the only question left is, what are you going to create?